All right, I think we are all set, and it's an absolute honor to be speaking on such an august platform, such a wonderful gathering. And there was just a small little something that I wanted to speak with everyone about today. And I thought that I'll use this small opportunity to do so. What I'm going to be speaking about is general knowledge and how it really matters generally. And what I'd like to start off by doing is actually asking everybody a very, very simple question. We let technology manage itself, but I'd like to ask everybody a very, very simple question. And that question is, and this question is something that I ask scores of students and teachers in my travels across schools in India and the Middle East. I always ask, there are so many things that are happening across the world, and each one of these things has an impact on us. So if I was to ask any of you about some of the things that have taken place in the world in the past week and their impact on you, how many of these things could you possibly think of? In general, there's always an 18-minute limit, so I'll be able to give you 30 seconds. Try and think of what is the last piece of breaking news that you saw on one of these news channels, or one of the things that just popped up in one of the apps that you probably use, or for that matter, one of the things that you have probably read out in a WhatsApp conversation. How many such things can you think of and their impact on your daily life? I'll give you 10 more seconds. Try and think about this. All right. How many of you were probably able to think of at least 3 things? Please raise your hands. All right, I see a couple of hands going up. What about 2 things? All right, a lot more people raising their hands up for 2 things. And how many of you were actually able to think of the impact that these particular global incidents or national incidents had on your own lives? All right, few hands have gone up. Most of the hands have gone down. And that sounds about right, because we always ask this question, and I'll tell you about this survey very soon. But there are a lot of things that keep taking place across the world. In recent times, the government is considering passing a bill to ban private cryptocurrencies. And while that might impact some of your private investments, it'll also help with trying to prevent money laundering in many different ways. That's the impact on our lives. Yesterday, I read an article in one of the noted newspapers of India which talked about how illegal wildlife trade for bears is actually increasing in parts of central and western India. And this is having a huge impact on the population of deer and other such populations of prey, which is leading to deforestation, soil erosion, and lack of fertilization of forests. There are many other such pieces of news that we can keep speaking about. But what I'd like to tell you is that when we often ask students this question in this survey that we often conduct with schools, we've realized that in a sample size of about 1,200 students, less than 5% students are able to think of anything more than 3 things that have taken place across the world, and most students are unable to think of the impact that these things have had on their lives. Now, I'm not very astonished by this particular fact, to be quite honest. It's something that I'd probably expect. But there was this one particular reaction that I received from a student in a noted school recently, which really astonished me. The student said, "Sir, why do I need to know about these different things? Nobody ever asks about these things in my exam papers. Who really cares what is taking place in the world?" And that was something that really surprised me. And I'll tell you why. Because growing up, I came from a culture where it was very common on Sunday mornings to stay glued to televisions, watching this quiz master who I idolized, asking a bunch of questions to some of the most noted students from some of the most noted schools across the country, questions related to general knowledge, related to current affairs, and a bunch of other issues. And these questions used to become a part of our classroom discussions, of our drawing room and dinner discussions. And there were so many times where we as friends actually used to discuss which students are going to the next round, just like students today discuss which students are being eliminated from dance and singing reality shows. And while it's completely fine to be discussing things beyond general knowledge is really very important. And I'll give you 3 very specific reasons for this and the importance of propagating it among our students. Reason number 1 is very simple. General knowledge and current affairs has an impact on anything and everything that we do. Just to give you an example, an increase in extremism in the Middle East might actually impact our ability to make a trip or make an investment business-wise in the region. An increase in global warming and melting of glaciers is resulting in many islands in the South Oceania zone, such as Kiribati, actually getting submerged and is also raising water levels in cities like mine, which is Mumbai. Apart from this, there are so many other points. For example, the repeal of farmer laws in recent times is going to have a positive impact, hopefully, on farmers going back to their villages and getting back to agriculture. And on a lighter note, an easier trip for a lot of people who want to move out of Delhi. So, irrespective of what piece of news exists across the world, it is definitely going to be having an impact on our lives. The second aspect that I'd like to talk about is that discussions on GK and current affairs are often some of the best icebreakers. They literally are some of the best icebreakers. Most students and most individuals and adults often suffer from this phobia where they do not want to approach a stranger they want to speak to in a formal or an informal setting because they're scared of being asked something that they don't know. Being aware of different things that are taking place across the world are going to give us the confidence to speak to people. And often, these different topics that have taken place yesterday or day before yesterday become a part of conversations and serve as icebreakers. And trust me, most ideas in the world are lost because of lost conversations which do not take place for this particular reason. And lastly, one of the most important reasons is that no man, woman, or any other human being is an island. For all of us, we need to be understanding what is taking place across the world to be able to make more educated decisions, whether it is our next investment, our next career decision, or for that matter, our next holiday trip as well. So now that I've established why general knowledge, current affairs, and its propagation is important, the next question is, how do we do it? Well, one of the most important things towards ensuring how do we do it is making sure that we dissociate general knowledge from general awareness. There is a big difference that exists between general knowledge and general awareness, and what we need to be doing is propagating general awareness, not general knowledge. And the reason for this is that we as human beings are extremely selfish creatures, all right? General knowledge is simply knowing something. General awareness is the application of that piece of news to our lives. Since we as human beings are selfish creatures, unless we understand the application of a piece of news to our lives, we are probably not going to be able to appreciate it. And I see this all the time. Just giving you a basic example, in recent times, there was this huge blockade of ships in the Suez Canal. And to know that this blockade of ships existed is fine. But to understand that this blockade of ships is actually impacting the number of grains that are probably coming to India because it's a huge trade route, or affecting the number of toilet papers that are sold in North America, automatically makes us feel very strongly for such a piece of news. Similarly, understanding that there is a skirmish in the Middle East, or the fact that the OPEC has cut down the amount of oil supply to the world is great. But understanding how it is impacting the amount of money that we are paying for petrol automatically makes us feel more for this. So what we need to be doing is propagating general awareness over general knowledge. The second point, and I'd like to say this to all parents and teachers, is to try and make sure that we make general awareness a part of regular drawing room discussions, of regular classroom discussions, and regular dinner table discussions. I've often seen parents asking children, why have you not scored, let's say, 100 on 100 in mathematics? It'll probably be a good idea to also ask students, why have you not found out what has been taking place in the world in the past week? This is automatically going to start leading to very, very positive discussions, and it'll make students realize how general knowledge is general. And to my last point, what I'd like to tell everybody is there is this misconception that when we talk about general knowledge and current affairs, it is always limited to politics. And that's not true. General knowledge is not politics. The fact that a wonderful 102-year-old gentleman recently received the Padma Shri from the President of India for providing free education to individuals and adults in Odisha for over 50 years is also a piece of general knowledge and current affairs. The fact that ice caps are melting and people are discussing this in Glasgow in the Conference of Parties is also a piece of general knowledge and current affairs. In fact, everything that we do in math, science, social sciences, English, needs to be integrated with current affairs so that students see the application of this to their regular lives. And I hope that we are able to propagate this in greater and greater ways. So my small message to all of you in conclusion is that in a world where getting 100 on 100 in mathematics is very important, let's start focusing a little more on also making students realize how they can potentially tackle climate change, what is being done for this, and how they can use general knowledge and current affairs for being successful in the exam of life. I'd like to end this entire conversation by simply saying the concept of jigyasa, or the curiosity to learn, is very important to invoke among the young generations of today, as well as the senior generations which are guiding the younger generations. So let's spread jigyasa, and let's make sure that everybody continues to be staying updated and staying enlightened. Thank you so much.